welcome to Pro Tour Dragons Maze Day 2. Rich Hagan, Zach Hill with you at the news desk. Well, Zach, 8 rounds down, 8 rounds to go before the Sunday Showdown, when all the races, the World Magic Cup, the World Championship, the Player of the Year, the Rookie of the Year, the Golds, the Silvers, the Platinums, and the small matter of a Pro Tour Dragons Maze champion will be unveiled. What came out of day 1 for you?
I think there were 2 big things, Rich. The first actually came out of Limited. When I was walking around talking to players, initially everyone's thought was that the 2-color aggressive decks they could draft were their most likely chance of winning the pod. Looking around the room, that didn't seem to be the case. A lot of people had success, especially a couple rounds on camera, but players were talking about how they had a lot more respect for the sort of gate, cluestone, more mid-range decks.
Okay.
In Constructed, I think a big story was actually the underperformance of Mono Red, a deck that a lot of people thought was going to be extremely powerful coming into this event, one of the forerunners. It didn't really crash and burn so much as just kind of disappointed. It seemed like most players were prepared for it in one way or another, or at the very least weren't willing to lose to it.
But that's the thing. You've played on the Pro Tour a bunch. You know that the Pro Tour, and by that I mean the grizzled pro veterans, there are some cards and there are some decks and some strategies you are prepared as a Magic player to use to. Sometimes you say, I'm prepared to lose to Dredge. I'm not going to devote 12 cards to the board. I'm prepared to lose to it. Most pros are not prepared to lose to a mono red deck.
Exactly. It's something about the pro player mentality that, like, you want to, play this really highly interactive game that takes forever, and it's just maddening to lose to the deck that just casts 3 1-drops on the first 2 turns and just attacks you in Dyna charges.
Which, by the way, makes someone like Patrick Sullivan all the more impressive because he will play mono red knowing that everyone's going to try and beat him.
Well, exactly, and those decks, are actually quite hard to play and quite intricate, but there's something visceral about losing to those decks. I mean, essentially, if you pack up enough kill cards, you're going to be able to beat those decks, and that seems like what we've seen at this tournament.
Okay, I can tell you that the players are seated for the second draft of Pro Tour Dragons Maze. We are going to be focusing on Pod 2. So this features a bunch of players on 7 and 1, and a couple on 6, 1 and 1, and even a 6-2 sneaking in the back door. So we have Craig Wesco, proponent of the White Weenies. We have Oliver Polak-Rotman, former Austrian national champion, 9 Pro Tour top 8s for Gabriel Nassif. You've got Daniel Ahlberg of Sweden. Zach, is on the Maze's End constructed deck. Super exciting to see if he can still be in contention when we get back to block constructed. Andrew Shout, Magic Online player. Robert Jerkovic, he's also played in the mocks back in 2009, and he has one of the best block constructed records known to man or beast. Kerry Edwards of the United States. But where shall we start? It's a great one to start with. It's the great one to start with. We're going to start with Bob Maher. Zach, how exciting are you?
Oh, it's incredible to see Bob back. I was talking to Marshall Sutcliffe, and one of the things he was saying was that, the reverence around Bob was sort of lost on players of the modern era and of the newer generation. But I mean, when I started playing actually about Pro Tour Chicago in '99, it was around the time Bob won. I mean, people got hushed when they were talking about Bob Maher. And it's great to see him back here and really continuing to perform at the highest level.
Okay, well, let's see him perform at the highest level. It's time to crack those packs. It's time for the second draft of Pro Tour Dragons Maze 2013.
Hey guys, welcome back to the booth. Marshall Sutcliffe with Brian David Marshall. Double Marshall action here. We get to watch the great one, as he's known, draft. I've never seen him draft before. What kind of style should we expect from him?
I mean, Bob is utterly pragmatic.
Okay.
He's gonna be a best cards kind of guy.
Okay.
And he's gonna figure out what his cards offer him. So, like, if you hand him Azorius,
yes,
he's gonna be 2-color Azorius.
Okay.
If you hand him, all the great cards, they're going to do it. Let's go see.
Yeah, let's go see right down now to the feature match area to watch Bob Maher draft. All right, looks like players are laying out their boosters. For those of you that haven't done a timed called draft like this, they're going to be told every action that they should take, including when to look at the cards, when to draft the cards, when to pass them. And let's get a look at what Bob is up to here.
See a couple of Mana Stones, Riot Piker.
There's a Runner's Bane, All right, he's got a lightning.
War Leader's
a
Helix?
War Leader's Helix there. Lightning Helix, not quite, but.
Cerulean Gatekeepers.
Yeah. So we just went from War Leader's Helix to Cerulean Gatekeepers. Helix, one of the more powerful removal spells we've had in a while. That's a Renegade Krasis right there.
Which is, by the way, it seems like a very powerful card.
Yeah, I think it is too. It's more of the solid variety.
Right, yeah. It is no War Leader's Helix.
That's right, and it looks like that's what, like you mentioned here, Bob's like, hey, this is the best card in the pack. I'll take this one. So
right.
Foolproof strategy. Usually, we get a look at War Leader's Helix there. Extremely powerful removal spell for this format, and really any that it would be legal in. All right, let's see what he opens next. This is going to dictate a lot of the direction that he goes.
Pilfered Plans.
Yeah.
I like going red, white, blue, black in my first 2 picks.
Hey, it's possible. This is not a great pack
There's
for
a
him.
Sin Collector.
And I
there's an
think a
Azorius
Flux
Guildgate.
Charger. Yeah, Azorius Guildgate is also something he could. I mean, the Guildgate. He's got the Flux Charger and the Guildgate pulled to the front here. He's reading Flux Charger.
Flux Charger's been surprisingly good. 1/5 flyer that you get to, do that is it thing where if you play an instant or sorcery.
Yep. I couldn't quite see what he took there. I think he took the Gate, but it might have been the Flux Charger. We'll get confirmation from our spotter if we can.
Select cards, 35 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, confirmed. He took Azorius Guildgate there. Now, VDM, you mentioned that. There's a Haunter Night Veil, which is a pretty powerful card as well. Let's see what else is in this pack. Beetle Form Mage.
Selesnya Guildgate. I mean,
There's a
is
Thrashing
that a
Moss Dog.
Haunter Night Veil's probably the best card in this pack.
Yeah, I think so too. Oh, is that a Krasis Incubation as well?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so there's a Krasis Incubation and a Haunter of Night Veil. We're going to see, and it looks like he's going to go for the Haunter here.
So we have gone red, white, blue, black.
We have indeed.
But again, a lot of times in Dragon's Maze, I mean, we should point out that people will throw away their first couple.
Cards,
Sure.
30 seconds.
Based on signals from the table, knowing what they passed.
All right, I saw an Opal Lake Gatekeepers. That is a breaking and entering he's looking at there. There's a Selesnya Guildgate, a Flux Charger, and a Woodlock Crawler.
Woodlock Crawler is one of the cards that uses the popular 2-drop mechanic.
There's not a lot of that in Dragon's Maze, honestly.
5 seconds.
It looks like he's got that Guildgate pulled to the front, and BDM, you and I were chatting before the stream, and you said he might just take a whole bunch of gates, and that's exactly what's happened earlier.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny, watching some of the drafts yesterday, I think that strategy was...
Select cards, 25
A lot of
seconds.
people seem to shy away from it. There was the in vogue thing was to get a 2-color deck.
Okay.
There's a Cerulean Gatekeeper. There's a Maze Behemoth.
Yeah, it looks like he's pulled the Gatekeeper to the front, although I will say there's still a Gruul Guildgate in this pack.
Yeah. And Bob noticed that as well.
Yeah, so this is an interesting choice. If you're the Gate deck...
I'm telling you, the Gatekeepers were coming around the table.
They were.
12th pick.
Well, so there's this interesting dynamic that happens, right? If you're the guy that's cutting all the gates, as we see Bob take another gate, then the other people don't have them, and they don't want the Gatekeeper.
He could
so it kind of feeds itself.
easily end up with 2 Cerulean Gatekeepers
25 seconds.
at the back end of this pack.
There's another gate, so it looks like, at least coming from his right side, he's the only one interested in the gate strategy. As I believe it was a Boros Guildgate that he's got one of those open to him here. There's also a Thrashing Moss Dog, which is a card that's really impressed me.
I love Thrashing Moss Dog.
Yeah, there's a Windrake he's got pulled up to the front too. Yeah, I mean, he's got to be careful that he doesn't overcommit to the gates, and it looks like he wants to just take a solid creature here with the Windrake. Also, if he's 4-color,
Select cards, 20 seconds.
maybe he doesn't want.
Yeah. He could be 4-color, don't know which of the 4 colors yet.
That's right.
And there's the White Gatekeeper.
Toil and Trouble,
Toil
yep.
and Trouble.
What do you like here?
I like Pilfered Plans.
Pilfered
honestly.
Plans is sweet, but I mean, don't you
Isn't
have to
Runner's
take the
Bane too?
Gatekeeper
I think
here?
I've been really happy with Runner's Bane. Yeah, I guess he has to take
Yeah,
it.
Runner's Bane's very good.
Yeah. I keep looking at it and seeing it as mind static.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they look a little similar.
It's just in your blind spot.
And I just a little bit blind to it
yeah.
sometimes.
No, that card's very good.
There's I believe the Blue Gatekeeper. There we go. So we're
Yep.
getting
So
to
he's
see
got a
Opal.
choice, between Opal Lake Gatekeepers and the white one. Which one do you like better? You're kind of down on the blue one, right?
No, I mean, I'd love to draw a card.
Yeah, right?
I want to void walk that guy. I want to deputy of acquittals him back to my hand.
And how are you going to void walk him if you don't draw that extra card, right? So
Exactly.
And it looks like, I think Bob took Opal.
He took Opal at Gatekeeper.
Ooh, geez. So here's the green.
So ruly.
Yep. So this is some predictions starting to come true here from you, BDM. But there's also a Runner's Bane, I believe, still.
Yeah, there's
in
a
this
Runner's
pack,
Bane,
but
and
look,
there's a Maze Glider, which
So-
I like that card.
so it looks like he instead wants the Cerulean Gatekeepers. It makes sense.
Yeah.
He's clearly on the Gatekeeper strategy, and it's worked out pretty well for him so far. It's hard to ask for more than what he's gotten. There's a Protect and a Serve. There's a Pilfered Plans. And I think that's a Hidden Strings. What did he take there?
You have 5
Look, he
cards.
took the Clue Stone.
He took the Clue Stone. Okay.
Select the cards. 10 seconds.
He does not want to be restricted going into the next 2 packs. He can just take whatever he
that
wants.
a
That is a
Beetleform Mage?
Beetleform Mage came back? Wow, that's insane. He
But he
doesn't
took
take
Clu-
it. He
he took
took the
Clue
Clue
Stone.
Stone. He is going to be fully open going into the next few packs. But I did a draft last night and almost first picked a Beetleform Mage. I think that card's sweet.
Oh, and there's
Another Opal.
Gatekeepers.
Jeez.
So one Cerule. He should have another Cerule coming back,
Yeah.
but someone may have.
Draw.
He's got a Murmuring Phantasm pulled to the front. That's the 05 wall.
Yeah.
He's got a Mind Static or a Riot Control. He just takes the Mind Static. So I got to say, that pack, you have to feel like pretty happy about how that went. He picked a bunch of Gates and a bunch of Gatekeepers.
Does he have 3 or 4 gates?
I think 4. He certainly didn't get any late. It might be 3.
Yeah.
He did pass that one after he committed,
Yep. Yep.
because his first picks were like Spell, Gate. And then I think he took one more Gate after
So he's
that.
got 2 Opals, 1 Cerule. Does he have 3 Opals? No, 2.
5 seconds.
Back.
Just restrict your picks to a single plant.
Man, I think his deck is going to be sweet. Bob Maher, the gloves are off. He's gone very deep here, full snorkel gear engaged, and look at him. He's trying to think, how many colors can I possibly run? I guess all 5. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes. You know, a lot of times these decks narrow down to 4,
Yeah.
depending on what they get in this in the Gate Crash pack. But I mean, he certainly has the ability to go full 5 if he wants.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times when you get that 5th color, it's like for one side of a, fuse
like a
card.
fuse card? Mhm.
Yeah, like oh, I can be dangerous too.
Yeah.
And you have like one, kind of like gate and one, clue stone that'll get you there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think he picked up 2 Clue Stones out of this pack too, so he clearly wants to be in 5 colors, and he wants to have all the mana available. I mean, he's in a good position here.
I mean,
he can pick up a few more
He could
gates.
also just be banned.
He could be. I mean, you don't want to give up War Leader's Helix easily, but
But he can splash. I mean, he can splash that.
yeah, he's well set up. He'll miss that Boros Guildgate if that does happen. But
Talking to Bob yesterday, he felt his saltiness, a little bit of the arrogance that he feels you need when you're playing.
yeah,
Returning.
yes. He said it starting to creep back into his psyche.
One of a ton of Hall of Famers here.
Yeah, this is a kind of a crazy weekend for the old guard. They're out in force.
I mean, just at this table, there's 25% of it is Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
We have Gabriel Nassif sitting there.
Yep.
All right, thank you very much for your patience.
I just saw Darwin Castle and Rob Doherty, Team YMG.
Please hold.
As we're coming in, they're both playing on day 2, 5 and 3 for Rob, 6 and 2 for Darwin.
Yeah. Solid performances still.
John, Patrick, Zvi,
Yeah.
Raph Levy.
Yep.
Crazy. It's almost like it's a skill game.
All right, deck strategy
All
again.
right, so players are waiting, and here we go with our Gate Crash pack. Let's see what Bob opens.
What are you looking for here? Are you looking for like some like Luminate Primordial, or are you looking for just like a bomby 7-drop?
I just want a bomb.
Yeah.
I mean, basically I want 2 drops and bombs from here on out. Like, it looks like, you know, he's going to fill out the middle part of his deck. Let's see what he opens here. All right, well,
There's a Luminate Primordial.
I
mean,
think
Diluvian Primordial.
Yeah, Diluvian Primordial, which is very powerful and much more playable when you've got 2 Clue Stones already in your pile. There's also
a Croconora.
A Croconora, right, which is a really solid pickup here too. That's actually a tough choice. It looks like he's content to just take the
There's also a
Primordial.
Nimbus Swimmer, which I think is worth considering.
It's a card I like a lot, but I mean I don't think you take it over a Croconora, right? Just go solid. I believe he took the Primordial here.
He did.
5 seconds.
It's hard to blame him. That card's very powerful. He has the deck that can cast it. I mean, 5/5 flying itself is massive, and you usually get a 2-for-1.
And there's a lot of big swingy instants and sorceries in this set too. So
Totally.
I'll take your Blast of Genius.
Yes.
35 seconds.
Oh man, don't get me started. I hadn't considered that yet. All right, let's see what he's looking at next here.
Oh,
One of our favorites. a
Can't
Cloud
lose
Friend
Raptor.
Yeah. There's also a Kingpin's Pet in there, but I think he is.
Oh.
That one gets shuffled to the front. This is going to be interesting to see what he takes because it's going to help dictate, what he's thinking in terms of colors.
I think he's got to take the Raptor.
If he takes the Raptor, it can get awkward because he has a lot of gates and clue stones that don't evolve it. But yeah, I mean, because Raptor really wants you to curve out, right?
He doesn't really have good access to black mana yet.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. He
might have Clue Stone mana.
Yeah,
but
Clue Stone, and he does have that Haunter of Night Veil, which he'd like to have in the deck. But I mean, it can go away.
Hold the gates.
Hold the gates.
Hold the gates.
All right, so there's 2 great Boros cards, a True Fire Paladin. There's also a Wojak Halberdiers in the pack.
By the way, that Keystone Rogue, pretty exciting now with his set of Gatekeepers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. Just straight up enter the battlefield effects certainly go what? Keymaster Rogue, it's got a downside. I did not see what he took there. He was
It looks
slightly
like he
off
took
camera.
the Phantasm.
Is the cards you're ready?
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Collect the cards.
All right.
25 seconds.
So he just wants some beef, it looks like. He looks like he's a little concerned about the top end. Wow. Rebel Belt Raiders. Wow, there's some really good cards in this pack,
Yeah, some
actually.
great green cards.
Yeah, there's an Ivy Lane Denizen, which
Lambing
is super
Slime.
solid. There's a Mugging in this pack. There's
Yeah.
Devour Flesh.
Rebel Belt Raider is pretty exciting, but I mean, he's clearly going to take the flyer there.
Which one did he
He
take?
took the 1/2 flyer.
Wow, he took Metropolis?
Metropolis, right? Yeah.
Is the cards
Huh. So it looks like he has started to commit in color directions that aren't 5, because there was clear, like Mugging, are you kidding, right? But it looks like he doesn't want to be in red anymore.
And then this pack is a little blank.
It's a little blanky here. I think that's an Aetherize he
It
has
is.
pulled to the front.
Yeah, there's not really. This is not a deck that wants an armored transport.
It looks like he's really moving in on blue here.
Yeah,
Is he traditionally a blue mage?
it's pretty blue.
Yeah.
Because they have 9 cards.
But again, I mean, he's. If you hand him a mono red deck in the draft, he's going to be mono red. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a pragmatist.
I like that. There's an Ivy Lane Denizen for him. An
And a Nimbus
Executioner
Swimmer.
Swing. Scatter Arc. It looks like he's pulled a Death Cult Rogue to the front here.
5 seconds.
Takes a gander at a few other cards, but yeah, he's not really looking for the green cards at all.
Yeah.
He really feels like he wants to be in
He's
blue.
blue white, maybe splash a little bit.
Yeah.
Little
This will be
green
interesting to see.
So he's blue
Where it
and red.
Could be. He does have that
Doesn't want to give up the Helix.
the Helix still, yeah.
Oh, Ooze Flux.
Did he have an Ooze Flux? Oh no.
I mean, he doesn't have the cards for it.
No, he's got just one card for it. Raptor.
5 seconds.
And that's not going to get it done. So let's see what he looks.
Nav Squad Commando.
All right, so it does look like he's moving in the blue-white direction here. I mean, Ivy Lane Denizens are quite powerful.
Yeah. And one of the more commonly first picked cards from the slides we were looking at yesterday.
Oh, is that right? Ooh, there's a nice little pickup.
That's a great 2-drop.
think it's the only real option. I mean, given what we've seen him pick recently.
Right, there was also a Sage Road Denizen.
Yeah.
You know, but the 2 is just much more important than the 3, I think, for his deck.
Frilled Oculus can get
Collect the cards, 10 seconds.
pumped, and he'll likely have it. Is that Nimbus
Nimbus
Swimmer come
Swimmer
back?
came all the way around.
Wow.
There's also a
Hands of Binding there?
Hands of Binding and a Totally Lost.
Uh-huh. Well, he's certainly, it looks like he's picked up on the fact that blue is open, and it is showing us. I mean, Hands of Binding is a fine card. Like, you'd be pretty happy to wheel one, I think, as a shielded passage or something.
Draft. They have 4 cards.
So we've seen Bob.
Just the kind of card Bob is going to utterly destroy somebody with.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Keymaster Rogue came back, but he didn't take it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They have 3 cards.
I would have liked that Keymaster.
Collect the
Yeah, I
cards.
think so. I think so, too.
Although, I mean, he's a little shock, a little packed at foot.
Draft.
Yeah.
They have 2 cards.
Yep, all those gatekeepers from the first pack definitely did that. Illusionist Bracers or Wildwood Rebirth.
Draft.
Either way, unlikely to make the
Yeah.
main deck.
So take the rare, isn't that the
45
rule?
seconds.
That's how it usually goes, but it looks like he,
Took the Wildwood
didn't,
Rebirth, a
yeah.
card that like, conceivably could be playable.
yeah. All right, so Bob's taking a look at his deck here, and I'm not really sure exactly where this is going to end up yet. He made a hard push into blue in the Gate Crash pack. He still has some green gatekeepers. He's got white gatekeepers. He's got blue gatekeepers. You were mentioning he could maybe move into Bant.
Yep.
And that seemed like a reasonable strategy.
Yeah, I mean, and he's set up for great Azorius cards.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen drafts where.
Well, Azorius and Selesnya
Yeah.
if he's in Bant.
Yeah.
Which is a great place
So
to
he's-
be
so
going
he-
into
so he
Return
goes
to
into that
Ravnica.
third pack ready for 2 of the most powerful
5
guilds.
seconds.
So he can
that
scoop
board.
up all the gold cards
Yeah.
from that pack, which are really what power up your deck and set it aside or set it apart from other decks. Now, he did have to give up. He's passing Devour Fleshes and Muggings and stuff to make this happen, but he has positioned himself to have just an excellent Return to Ravnica pack here. Let's see what he can get.
It feels like he's, if he has just even a medium pack, I feel like maybe this deck is a little disappointing. Right
Oh, I
now.
think so too. I mean, that means giving up the War Leader's Helix, potentially giving up Haunter of Nightvale. Like a few of his early picks wouldn't make the cut. So let's see what he opens up here. All right, there's a Sunspire Griffin, Rootborn Defenses, Dispel, Giant Growth. I saw a Skyline Predator in there. An Is It Charm, which if he wants to splash red, he could consider. He's got a lot of options. Nothing. I don't think any of these cards are obvious picks here.
I think he's taking the Guild Gate.
He's got it pulled to the front. Yeah, wow, okay. I think
Well, and
he didn't get any in the other
But
pack.
he knows
right?
he's going to get something else out of that pack coming back.
Sure, he'll
There's
get that
going to be a white
Krasda
blue or
monitor.
green card, yeah. And he was not going to get that Guild Gate.
Yeah, if he's lucky, he'll get that Skyline Predator back.
Please lay the cards to your left.
He does feel like blue's open. It's a big, expensive double blue spell, so he's there's a decent chance he wheels it. Sunspire Griffin would be ideal. That card's very solid. And there's another Skyline Predator for him. Golgari Decoy. There's a Cord. Not a lot of awesome stuff for him, unfortunately. Oh, is that a martial law?
Yeah.
Hey, I'll take it all back. I didn't see the martial law, sorry.
Your invitational card?
Yeah, that's me in the helmet right there. Pointing my finger or holding that guy against the wall, whatever I'm doing. They made me stand there forever for that picture. So
I think
martial
they
law,
got your best side.
that made me put the helmet on.
Yeah,
too.
inside.
Yeah. But martial law, powerful enchantment, acts as a removal spell that can switch over.
Yeah, it always upgrades to their best creature.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we see a new Prov Guild Mage.
That's right, a new Prov Guild
And
Mage.
an Azorius Guild Gate. Uh-oh.
Yep. I also saw a Hussar Patrol, which is quite solid. I think that Bob is pretty lacking in 2-drops at this point, so the new Prov
And
Guild
new
Mage
Prov
is
Guild
probably
Mage
where he wants
is
to
just
go.
one of the Chromantic Lantern.
5 seconds.
He's like, oh, I can get super greedy.
Guess I should have gone for the full 5.
Takes the new Prov Guild Mage though, which is right. I mean, just
Lay the cards to your left.
great late game. Great
Yeah,
early
he's
game.
got 2 Clue Stones. I don't know how many of them he's going to run, but if he runs 1 or 2 of them,
25 seconds.
powers up that new Prov Guild Mage. Its ability is expensive, but it can take over the board if the game goes really long. There's a Tristani's Judgment and a Dramatic Rescue. I'm kind of an unabashed dramatic rescue fan. I think the card's a little underrated in the set,
but I think Tristani's Judgment's also underrated.
I think so too. And being able to just
deal with the bombs,
hill something
Yeah.
is a thing that you just sort of need.
make it go away.
Yeah, and it exiles too. So like there's a few interactions with that as well.
Collect the cards. 25 seconds.
All right, we see a doorkeeper. There's a Courser's Accord.
Cellar Songbirds.
You know, it's not the most powerful card around, but I think he just needs these sort of 2 and 3 drop solid creatures.
He's looking at the gavel.
5 seconds.
I think he took Fall of the Gavel there. Wow.
Draft.
Judge Maher has spoken.
9 cards.
The Hanging Judge.
Okay, looks like he might feel like his deck is short on answers. You know, he might just feel like, look, I didn't get as much removal as I wanted. I'm going to have to find a way to stop their bombs.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's Ethereal Armor, a BDM favorite.
I do love that card.
Yeah, it's
5
quite good
seconds.
card. It snuck up on me. I didn't believe you at first.
Takes
and,
the double, the off-color Guildgate. Took Rakdos Guildgate.
is that what he
there.
took? All right,
Yeah.
so he just really wants to make sure.
But that
his
lets him
Guild
splash.
Gates are
Also
turned
lets him
on.
be able to splash 2 cards with that, depending on what his other fixing is. Right.
Yeah.
It plays into his Night Veil Spectre, and it plays into his War Leader's Helix.
Yeah. All right, there's a Phantom General.
Second Phantom General that we've seen.
Yeah,
go
but
by.
unfortunately, he just doesn't have enough token makers, right? He's
no.
got the
5
Gatekeeper.
seconds.
I don't think he has anything
Passed
else.
a couple Courser's Accords.
Yeah, I think he took a Rune Wing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
seems like a fine pick.
completely
Hit
clear.
7 cards.
He's
Goes
got to be.
there.
He's got to be thinking. You know, it's interesting because the players are not allowed to look at their deck during this portion, so he's got to try to keep track of how many creatures he has.
Tower Drake
Tower
sounds like
Drake's
a
in.
fine
Yeah, easy
late
pick here.
card there. Is this his opening pack coming back?
I think there's one more. I think it's the next pick. I couldn't quite tell, but
Draft.
let's see if he gets that Krasna Monitor or maybe even the Skyline Predator again. I think that would be kind of dreamy. The Sunspire Griffin's pretty sure to be gone. Yeah, there it
There's
is.
also a Dispel in there.
5 seconds.
Yeah, there's a Dispel and a Stealer of Secrets, but he did get that Predator back. Yeah, looks like he's going to take it. So plan A
Play with 5 cards.
achieved. It seems like blue is pretty open.
Yeah.
Wasn't a huge stretch to get that card back.
5 seconds.
Well, I guess Chorus of Might it is. It's the only card in his colors, and that's
Play
playable.
4 cards. Collect the cards.
Ooh,
Wait, what just
he got the
happened?
Guild Gate. He
He
first
took-
picked one. He also 12th picked one. So
And with still some good cards for his deck in the pack.
yeah,
Right, there was still a.
Hover Barrier there.
There was also, wasn't there a course, a Hussar there?
Oh, I didn't see it. There could have been. All right, and he enters
Draft.
Crosstown
Pass
Courier.
your last card. Please remain
That's
in
what he
your seat
took,
for
but
the
we were just
reserve
wondering what
cards.
was in there. So he has enough gates.
Yeah, he does have enough gates.
Confirmed, Bob Maher has
six
enough
gates, 7 gates?
6 or 7.
6 or
yeah.
7 gates.
Especially this Azorius Guild gate that he got really late. So we know that the gatekeepers that he runs are going to be active a lot of the time. So the question is going to become, are those gatekeepers enough to keep him alive to hit? Because, he's got some bigger spells that can finish the game.
He's got an entire game restart in his deck, right?
Right.
He's got 19 extra life in his deck in 2 Cerulean Gatekeepers and 1 Fall of the Gaffle.
Right. So, he's got a lot of places to put that big mana. We
Right.
know that. Hey, welcome back to the booth. Marshall Sutcliffe here with Brian David Marshall.
Hey,
And we just I thought it was an interesting draft. He started off very open. You could tell he's just like, look, I'm going to take the best cards or I'm going to take a gate. I'm going to do one or the other.
Right.
But in Gate Crash, he pushed hard in a direction. I mean, we saw him pass a mugging. We saw him take blue cards over almost everything. And I think at that there was a point where he switched and he's like, I'm going to be Bant.
Yes.
And I know you called it out like, hey, he could just go Bant here.
Yeah.
The question is, does he run the War Leader's Helix? Does the Haunter make it in?
Hey, the question is also, does he run the green?
Mm-hmm.
He could just be blue-white here, ignore the Cerulean Gatekeepers,
Okay.
and splash the red and the black.
Because he's got 2 Opal gatekeepers and at least 1 white gatekeeper, maybe 2.
1, I believe. And then he can splash the Night Veil Hunter and the Warleader's Helix off of his Mana Stones and off of his
Rakdos
off
key
of the
rune.
Rakdos Guildgate.
Hey, yeah, not Keyrune, Guildgate, right? Yeah, yeah, that's also an option. So I'm really curious to see what he does.
I don't
with
know that he
this.
has enough green to splash the green. It didn't look like there was a Simic Guildgater. So, but
okay.
that was certainly an interesting draft thing, and I think that draft is very much in reaction to what we saw yesterday.
Which was people trying to stick to 2 colors,
Yeah.
and he's like, no. he's clearly open. All right, looks like we're ready to head back to the news desk, so we're going to send it over there. Players are going to build their decks. When they're done, we're going to come back and we're going to see what Bob built. We'll see you guys in a few minutes.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the news desk. Well, Zach, that looked like a pretty interesting draft, and if you're not sure whether gates and gatekeepers are a real thing, you kind of saw there, they really, really are. That was a really interesting draft.
Yeah, and not only was he enabling his gatekeepers, you saw him flexible up until the last pack to really take the cards in the most suitable colors for him. You know, originally it looked like, okay, is he blue-green? Eventually we're like, okay, is he banned? He was able to capitalize on some of the Azorius cards in the final pack. So, I mean, that flexibility seemed to really reward Bob.
How much bravery do you need to set yourself up for the Return to Ravnica pack where you get the 2 guilds, as opposed to going, hey, let's get my draft more or less settled by the end of Gatecrash, and then I just fill out the last few slots in RTR?
I think it's bravery, and it's also just discipline, you know, because it can be very, very frustrating to, you know, you have a decent pack 1, but pack 2 to just be like, look, you know, in pack 3, I'm at a Pro Tour. I'm at a really high, I'm in the second pot of the Pro Tour, and I've got to just trust that I can get 9 or 10 cards for my deck in the final pack. You know, that's nail biting. You know, you want to have a little bit of that security early on. So, I mean, that's a testament to the value of doing, you know, 30 drafts before the event, so that you can be confident enough to know that that can actually happen.
Yeah, it does seem to me like this is a format where the players who drafted a lot, traditionally, we come to Pro Tours and the pros love to draft, so they do tons of draft, and then you see the underprepared constructed players suffering because they take a stock Jund list or a stock mono red list or whatever, and then they just don't quite get there. I think this is a Pro Tour where, although it's only 6 rounds, I think the draft is super critical, and the players who didn't know what was going on with draft are really suffering for it.
Oh yeah, and everyone I talk to has a different theory on draft. Ben Stark was waxing poetic last night at the hotel about what, you know, as we were doing a coverage draft in the lobby, about what he thought. Sam Black had different thoughts. This is not one of those formats where everyone has a consensus about the exact correct thing to do.
Yes, it's not, blue-white flyers, there we are, we're
Obviously.
done.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, blue-white flyers is always the answer. Surprise. So, let's get to it. First things first, let's show you the way things stood after day 1. So, here's our master scoreboard. Now, the master scoreboard, still not quite technically true. What you're looking at there is the one and only 8-0, the one and only undefeated 7-0-1, all the 7-1s, the 2 6-1-1s, and the first of many, many, many 6-2s. So Kerry Edwards is by no means alone at 6-2 in 16th place. In fact, you can go all the way down to Sethsilk Chanplang of Thailand in 55th on 6-2. So this nonetheless is the first 2 pods. On the left you see table 1, Castellan, Eilers, Bertu, Kutasevich, Peleg, Vader, Mahara and Swift, and then the table we've just watched in action. You've got Maher, Edwards, Jurkovic, Nassif, Shrout, Polak, Rotman, Wesko and Alberg. And Zach, we have to start with the 8-0. Rob Castellan, and of all the decks we thought we might see, he ends up with this kind of Venn diagram deck of, well, we wanted Voice of Resurgence, that was the green-white deck, and we wanted Sire of Insanity, that was a black-red deck. So we just put them together. That's a slight oversimplification, but you must be really impressed with his deck.
Well, I'm extraordinarily impressed with his deck and the foresight it took to construct it. I also think it was just a great read on the metagame. You know, the field is something like 30% Esper control decks. Someone told me yesterday about 50% control decks, generally speaking.
Yep.
And to have all these cards, you know, Sin Collector, Voice of Resurgence, Sire of Insanity, that are extremely well positioned against control while not being blank against aggressive decks, you know, you can always just take a removal spell with a Sin Collector and allow the rest of your threats to stick. So I thought it was an excellent read on the environment. really high power level overall, and we're seeing him be rewarded for that.
So if we take a look again at those first two pods for this morning, very interesting on the left. We're going to wade through the pods as we go through the morning. But on the left there, who would you take of that first 8? So on the left of the screen, I'll give you anyone you like, Zach, to win this draft this morning.
I'm going to go with Uri Peleg, actually. The stat that's so impressive to me is a world champion that just like stopped playing, and then he got second at a PTQ, first at a PTQ, and now he's in table 1 of the Pro Tour in day 2. I mean, this is a man that can really play some Magic the Gathering cards. I was very impressed with the play that we saw him under the spotlight, and you know, I think he knows how to draft. So I'm going to go ahead and select him to win this pot.
Okay, well, I will give you his teammate and fellow deck builder, Simon Bertiu of Greece. Now, between them, they played the exact same 75, I believe. They are 9-1 in block constructed. And when Bertiu saw Peleg lose in the feature match late last night, he was like, letting the side down, shameful. Now we've lost a constructed match. And there is a really strong narrative. We're in the business of storytelling, you know we are, but this is for real. They came with a plan. The plan was called Aetherling, and it was this simple. They said, this card will win us the Pro Tour. Therefore, we will have more of it than anyone else. Most decks are running 1 in the main, maybe 1 in the board. They are running 3 main, the 4th is ready to come in. It's so important to them. They're running more hard counters than anyone else. And they say, you can do anything you like, my friend, until you decide that you don't want my Aetherling to be in play or to resolve. At which point you will find it is not true. My Aetherling is in play, it is on the battlefield, and we're going to win a Pro Tour because of it. They are 9-1 and constructed. I think this Pro Tour may come down to the next 3 hours, and Bertiu and Peleg, do they come out of draft at the top or having to come through the field again? Because if they 2-1 this draft, their deck is a monster for block constructed. So that's pod 1, very exciting. Let's take a look at the master scoreboard again and take you through the pod that we've just seen Bob Maher draft in. Now, Zach, did you see enough from Bob Maher's draft to say, I'm going to pick him as a pod winner here?
You know, I do, Rich. I thought his deck looked excellent to me. It looks flexible. It looks he actually has several different build options to go with. But he has a tremendous density of playables, also a lot of gates, which not only enables his gatekeepers, but allows him to play his most powerful cards and move in the direction he wants. He's also the great one, Bob Maher. So, you know, and it's easy to just talk about him in general. He was also playtesting with one of the other best limited players of all time a long time ago, Neil Reeves, and I think really understood limited before most other players in the world understood limited. So, I mean, this is a man that knows how to play 40-card decks. So I'm going to go with Bob for that pod.
Okay, well, I'm going to take a look at Craig Wescoe. Craig Wescoe is a Platinum Pro. He's known throughout the world for his white weenie decks. He's a columnist, of course, on TCGplayer.com. Tremendous player. And when you are known for an archetype, sometimes that can be a bit of a millstone around your neck, not the card. You're kind of sometimes forced into playing it when you don't quite want to, or people are ready for you. They know it, they mulligan on the basis of what they assume you're on. Yesterday, Craig played many, many very small white men. He turned them sideways a lot and beat almost everyone. He's at 7-1 right now. And his first draft deck is an archetype Zach I absolutely love, and it seemed to come into focus yesterday at a lot of the tables, Rakdos. Not Rakdos plus purple or pink or mauve, Rakdos. Black, red, watch me turn them sideways and beat you to a pulp.
Yeah, and that plays right into the style of play that Craig really likes, which is, you know, be very aggressive, be maximally efficient, and win through combat, something he's really good at. You know, a really interesting bit of trivia, Craig actually designed the deck that Bob played against in the finals of Pro Tour Chicago '99 that he won.
What?
Brian Davis's Free Spell Necro deck. So
good grief.
It's kind of a rivalry, what, 14 years in the making?
That's back in the day, isn't it? That's awesome. All right, now, that's the master scoreboard for today, the beginnings of, because we have a Pro Tour to win. We have lots of other things to give away this weekend because it is our end of season goodie fest. That means Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Platinum, Gold and Silver. And it also means for all of you around the world, you will find out your national World Magic Cup representatives. So we've taken 20 of the closest, most interesting races, and we're going to take you through them now, see how they stack up after day 1. So let's go and see where we're going to start. We're going to be alphabetical, And we began coming in with Australia. Justin Chung was on 17 points and Isaac Egan on 10. Zach, what happened to Australia on day one?
Well, unfortunately for Isaac, he actually didn't make it into day two, whereas Justin is currently sitting at 6-2. You said there's a huge pack of 6-2 players. Justin, one of them, really solid player. I think he's in very good position right now to take the title.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that there is still the possibility that someone snuck in the back door at 4-4. They win 8 today, they go 12-4, they finish 8th, sneak into the top 8, then they come back tomorrow, they win the whole thing. That makes 17 pro points nowhere near enough. You win 30 for winning the Pro Tour. But this is to give you a guide. Egan is gone, so Chung has a huge lead. Let's go to Brazil next. When we came in, Willie Adel was on 49. He had a huge lead over Palavida Damarosa. How did they get on?
Well, so Willie's sitting at 5-3, PV at 4-4, you know, equivalently very similar records. But the thing PV's got to be looking at is it is not easy to make up a 24-point differential.
Yeah, it's as straightforward as now Willie has to lose a lot of matches in a row. Paolo has to win all his matches in a row, make the top 8, and go from there. But Paolo, he says, yeah, look, realistically, platinum's gone. He's playing for golds today. Canada is up next. And let me tell you, that looks like a big old list. It's not that big anymore. Tell us what's happened, Zach.
All right, so John made it into day 2. John Stern sitting at 5-3, 33 points as the leader. Alexander Hayne, I love the deck he was playing, also running mazes in, did not make it into day 2. Maxim Grin also didn't make it into day 2. Sebastian Deno coming in at 20 points, also at 5-3. That means today he's going to really need to outperform John Stern, but certainly has the capacity to do it. And then Pascal Maynard sitting substantially behind at 11 points, also didn't make the second day.
Yeah, so very straightforward here. You're looking at Sebastian Deno needing to make top 8 to overhaul Stern, who needs to not make top 8, and then Deno probably needs to win the whole thing. Let's go to Europe. Let's go to Denmark. Oh no, Czech Republic next, fair enough. We have 3 big names there, you see, and it will not surprise you to learn that all 3 of those names are still very much alive. What is slightly more surprising are their scores, Zach.
Yeah, so Sivka coming in 5-3, Yuza also at 5-3. Yaklovsky made day 2 at 4-4, but Sivka Yuza, incredibly tight race. They're sitting at the top of the Player of the Year standings, not literally at the top, but in the running. They're both excellent players. They both travel to events, and they both could really use the boost of being on their national team as they come into the next season. So I think this may even be the race to watch.
Absolutely, it's one of the great ones for sure. Now we do get to Denmark. Sorry to tease you, my Danish friends. Thomas Enevoldsen came in on the back of his Grand Prix title a few weeks ago, had a 4-point lead over Andreas Nielsen. This is the sound of a door creaking open. And that is Thomas Enevoldsen gone from the tournament on day 1. So he will get his minimum 3 points for attending. So he's up to 17. That means Andreas Nielsen needs 8 points total to get there. And of course he starts with 3 for being in the just for playing. So he's functionally at 13. He's going to need somewhere around a top 25 berth will get the job done for him. So he's 5-3 overnight. He may need 6-2, maybe 6-1-1, something like that, to put him in the mix for the Danish title.
And that's, to me, this is the really compelling part of events like this. You know, I mean, we understand how it works. At Pro Tours, we talk about top 8s and how those are what matters. You know, you really want to be playing on Sunday. But these, for people like Andreas Nielsen right now, that's where the pro points you get out of top 25, top 32 finishes really come into play. Because, again, being a national team representative, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of pro points, that's a lot of prestige.
And it's a hell of a week in Amsterdam as well. It's going to be just a wonderful week. Join us for that. Let's go to England, just across the channel from Amsterdam, and we're going to give you Eduardo Sajgalic, Daniel Royd, and Richard Bland. They're the 3 main contenders. Now, Sajgalic wasn't at this event. He was top 8 of Pro Tour Seattle, returned to Ravnica, but he was a silver pro, so he'd used up his invite, not qualified here, sitting at home, enjoying the coverage. Daniel Royd didn't make day 2. Richard Bland sneaks in the back door. He is king of the draws. Richard Bland always seems to get draws at these things. 4-3-1, so he's on 13 points coming in, but 11 pro points on the year. He needs a huge day. He's basically single elimination. Otherwise, Sajgalic will win the World Magic Cup slot, and Roy Raftery, who lost to Sajgalic in the first WMCQ, will be 3 cheers, pass down, I get the invite to the World Magic Cup. So now here's a huge one, Zach. Talk us through France.
All right, so France, you've got Raph Levy sitting at the top of the standings at 30 points. Gabriel Nassif coming off a tear today at 7-1, 9 points behind Raph, but really positioned to make a go at it today. Jeremy Desani also at 5-3, also at 21 points, but is sitting 2 wins behind Gab, so he's going to really have to overcome a lot even to get into second place, and hope Raph has a really bad day. Louis Del Tour, 19 points, did not make the second day. Timothy Simino way back at 14 points, still alive today, but at 4-4, he's going to need a lot to go right. I think the race right now is between Levy and Nassif.
Yeah, so late last night, had a little look at Facebook, and there's a post from Gabriel Nassif, and it says, quietly didn't lose a game in block constructed. Well, not that quietly, because you posted it on Facebook, so now I'm telling everyone. This, again, a very significant, same storyline as Bertiu and Peleg. Got this fantastic constructed deck in the locker, waiting to come out in 3.5 hours' time, but where will he be? Will he be 8-4, 7, you know, whereabouts on the ladder? He could be as high as 10-1. If he's 10-1 and then opens up the I haven't lost a game yet, he's 10-0 in games.
Right.
You've got to feel he's an overwhelming favourite to make the top 8. But if he goes 1-2 in draft, he's suddenly at 8-3. Well, then he only has 1 loss to give, and every deck malfunctions sometime. So,
I mean, the thing to remember about Nassif is he's not one of these players that just specializes in constructed either. I mean, Nassif has a rock-solid limited game, has won a Team Pro Tour. So I definitely think that he is in a very good position to come out of this pod in a strong place.
all right, Germany is up next, and this one is actually pretty simple. Let's take a look. We have Jonas Kussler leading the way on 16. Lucas Tajak didn't make it into day 2. Bernd Brendemühl didn't make it into day 2. So barring a huge run from the back of the pack from one of the relatively unknown Germans still alive, Kussler in great shape. And he's in for a chance at top 8.
Now, do we have still for Germany Andre Muller and Kai Buddha still alive?
Well, of course they are still alive. So yeah, so there is the possibility of a top 8 there. You could see Kai winning the whole thing and becoming the German national champion, but from a long way back.
Sure.
So Kussler is going to look at setting a target of 20, 21, 22, even with a fairly average day today. So Italy was up next. Samuele Estrati, you saw briefly there, has the lead. It's a huge lead. Matteo Vasari is out, and that's significant not just for Italy, but he was second in the Rookie of the Year race behind Felipe Tapia Becerra of Chile. And, well, that's good news for Chile. Not so good for Vasari. He is out on day 1. And then you have Alessandro Portaro still alive at 5-3, just like Estrati. But again, realistically, this is all about Estrati now, pretty much locking up the Italian slot. That is not so for our next country, Zach. It's Japan.
All right, Japan, we're looking at Yuya Watanabe, a whopping 62 points. Shuei Nakamura not doing too bad at 48. You've got to be disappointed to be second place in your country by a substantial margin with 48 pro points.
Such a shameful mere 48 points this season. But Shuhei, they're both at 6-2. So again, one of them has a great day. Nakamura has a great day. Watanabe doesn't have so good, like 3-5 maybe 4-4. And you would see Nakamura towards the top 8. It could be live tomorrow, and that would of course make Player of the Year live tomorrow. We'll come to that in a little bit. Let's look at Norway. Norway are up next, and it's Andreas Nordahl, 19, Sveinung Bjornerud, 13. They're both alive. Now, Bjornerud has 1 round lead, but it's 5-3 against 4-4, so neither of them in tremendous shape. Bjornerud needs basically to win his draft and then re-evaluate things at 8-3. By then, Nordahl might be out functionally, and then Bjornerud can set his sights on maybe a sort of top 16 to give him a chance of overhauling Nordahl. What about the Philippines, Zach?
Okay, Philippines, we've got Richmond Tan at 15. We've got Andrew Katiana at 12 points coming into this tournament, 4-4. This is, again, one of those opportunities for him to really overtake Tan in the race. You know, they both got 3 points for showing up at the event, but at 4-4, Katian only needs 3 more points. So if he has just an above-average day today, he can really upset Tan in this slot.
Yeah, I think round about 6-2 might do it. He's going to need somewhere in the region of top 50 to get there. Singapore, I believe, is our next country. It's Kelvin Chiu, and this is pretty much over. Kelvin Chiu, Chapman Sim, our coverage colleague, came in saying, yeah, I got no real chance of doing this. He didn't, in fact, make day 2. Chiu is into day 2 safely at 5-3. This one's done. That is not true about Sweden, Zach. Oh, Slovak Republic, let's talk about them. You've got 2 players alive, Ivan Flock, Robert Jerkovic. Flock at 4-4, Jerkovic 6-1-1. So Jerkovic, he will actually not really be thinking about the World Magic Cup. He'll be thinking about top 8 because he was 6-0, Zach, and then had that draw against Bob Maher. It kind of derailed both of them at the back end.
Yeah, you didn't want to get a draw right there, not only for your top 8 chances, but Jerkovic winning the national title really, really huge for him this year. He was a Platinum Pro from last season, 14 points this season, not picking a lot up, but he's actually one of my favorite players. I think he's an excellent, excellent Magic player. I think he's positioned to make a great go at this top 8. You know, you're talking about he has one of the best block constructed records at this entire tournament. So if he can come out of this draft, even though he's substantially behind, I think he's positioned to make a good run at the top 8 today.
I agree. Let's look at Sweden then. Now this race is now well and truly open because Joe Larson came, he was runner-up at the last Pro Tour. Not quite second last this time, but pretty close, I think. He had a terrible day yesterday. So he's gone, stays at 37. He gets his 3 points for simply being outside the top 100. So that opens the door potentially for any of Watsfeld, Rashid or Oberg. Oberg needs a huge performance. He's 5-3, but both Rashid and Watsfeld are at 6-2. Either of those can make top 8. The minimum for top 8 is 20 points. Top 16 is 15 points. So it's getting really quite tight there. Either Watsfeld or Rashid could make top 8 and leapfrog Larson for the Swedish slot. Where do we go next?
We're going to take a look at Chinese Taipei. We got Su Qingguo, really, you know, a player that's been around for a really long time, but has made his mark these last couple of seasons, sitting at 39. He's still alive today at 5-3. Hao Shan Huang at 18 points, also at 5-3. Again, has a pretty tremendous differential to overcome. And we're very likely to see Kuo captaining the Chinese Taipei world champions from last year yet again.
Now, there's one more race to look at, but to be honest, I'm going to kind of just go past the United States of America because if we look at the US team, you see, there's loads of people there. Don't worry about that. Let's just clear that out and let's get straight to the Player of the Year permutations because it turns out a lot of the time, that's the US race for the World Magic Cup too. That's where we came in over the course of the season to the start of yesterday. Yuya Watanabe at 62 points. A 4-point margin to Ben Stark. Let's talk our way through how the contenders have done. So, off we go. Zach, who have we got?
All right, so you've got Yuya, leader in the race, but you know, everyone else in the race is kind of hoping he's going to have a bad weekend. Certainly doesn't. He's sitting at 6-2. Ben Stark, 5-3, Utter Layton, 6-2, Martel, 5-3. Again, very, very good records. Shahar Shenar, down just below Martel at 50 points, but at 4-4 is going to really need a strong performance.
Yeah, now that's the first disappointment. That's the first crack in the armour, you would think, because Shahar Shenar, essentially, if he's going to make top 8 now, needs to win 7 straight to start the day, then look at tie breaks, see whether there's one of these sort of, yeah, I can sneak my way in, but 11-1, that seems unlikely. It's going to be like a 12-4 and hope. So that's the first person I'm pretty much prepared to say won't be Player of the Year. Let's carry on down the list.
All right, so we see Eric Froelich, Efro, also at 50 points, but a 6-2 record, a lot more strongly positioned coming into this event. Willie Edel just 1 point behind at 49, also at 5-3, so again, kind of anything can happen. David Ochoa, 49 points, a record of 4-4. Again, not really where he wants to be, but not too bad either. Really needs a strong, strong run, though, to remain in the race.
Okay, let's keep on piling down. Owen Turtenwald, he's gone. He didn't make it in today too. We've got Sifka there on 48, you see, 5-3. Nakamura, 6-2 of the 48s. We've mentioned him already. Martin User, terribly ill yesterday morning. Recovered, felt a lot better around about lunchtime, got himself to 5-3. Brian Kibler, 5-3, but Owen Turtenwald is gone. He will not be improving on 48 points. That's where his season will end. And as he tweeted last night, gave it my all, wasn't my day, 2 and 5. Feels like the World Magic Cup, the World Championship is gone. The at-large slots filter down, basically this list, round the regions and then the at-large slots. So then we have Li Shi-chan. He is gone as well, so he will finish on 44 points. That means he will certainly not be player of the year. Take us through the last 5, Zach.
All right, finally, we're looking at Su Xing Kuo. We brought him up earlier, 39 points at 5 and 3. Jerry Thompson, 5 and 3, 38 points. Reed Duke, fan favorite, great guy, great player at 6 and 2, positioned for a decent run today. Conley Woods, another fan favorite, 6 and 2. And Samuela Estrada, who always impresses me every time I watch him play, 36 points at 5 and 3. I think, Rich, the big thing to remember about this list is how many of these players are still live today. You know, I mean, there's a reason that they're at the top of the standings for the year. But
17 of the 19 came back for day 2, which is just pretty fantastic. All right, so let's come back to the desk. Thanks very much for all our graphics team backstage, pulling all that stuff together for you. We've got some more graphics coming up because GatheringMagic.com, they have a man on their temporary staff called That Guy James, and he's a graphic artist by day and a Magic fan by night. And I hope you've seen some of his utterly gorgeous representations of, sometimes it's about the guild, sometimes it's cards. And in our next session, the infographics, they're going to take us inside the world of the Pro Tour here at Dragon's Maze. So Gathering Magic and That Guy James, so let's take a look at what they've got on show for us. So it is Pro Tour Dragon's Maze. Let's see what they've got to tell us. All right, the 5th Pro Tour to be hosted in San Diego. Odyssey, Rochester Draft, okay. More Draft, Mirrored in Darksteel. More, well, that was a crazy draft. The Two-Headed Giant Booster Draft, the Sliver Kids, Jake Van Lunen, and of course Chris Lackman winning in about 4 minutes, if memory serves, the final took. Just a game, remember. 2010 was the Zendikar Worldweight Standard and of course Booster Draft. And here we are with Return to Ravnica, Block Constructed and Booster Draft. San Diego, it's a great city. It's one of those strange places, though, that where when people say, so what should I go and see or do? You don't necessarily think of the 17 great tourist attractions. It's just a really great place to hang out and have a great time with friends and play Magic.
No, I mean, yeah, it's pretty low-key. It's not quite as stressful as LA. Got a really rich Magic history, and we've just enjoyed being able to kind of hang out.
Yep. So we will see who gets added to the list, the latest Pro Tour champion here in San Diego. What's next? 55 countries holding Pro Tour qualifiers. And you think of all those PTQs you've been to. You've been in like hotel ballrooms, you've been in village halls, you've been in scout huts if you're in England, you've been in just like local game stores, you've been on the top floor of someone's apartment where you've had like 28-player PTQs above a cafe in places. And you just think in one of those rooms, somebody may have started their journey to $40,000 this afternoon, or tomorrow afternoon. It's just, where in the world is the Pro Tour champion from right now? As you look at that map, where's it from? I bet you're going to say USA, aren't you? that would be the right call in every scenario.
I'm a little bit biased. I might have to go with the USA. I don't know. I'm feeling Uri Peleg for some reason. I might have to go say Israel. I don't know. I've just got a feeling.
And when you say Uri Peleg, I mean, obviously you get Shahar Shenhar in there as well, which is like, a pretty decent call.
Not too bad.
He's at 4 and 4. All right, let's see where we go next. The lifetime record against other Dragon's Maze players. So typically, they've played 41 matches this season. Your highest win percentage, this is no shock to anyone, Stanislav Sivka, 67.3. Well, that's because Pro Tour Return to Ravnica was this season. And of course, he won the whole thing, only lost 1 match. But once you go to a sort of longer statistical view, the highest win percentage with over 100 matches played, that is your Hall of Famer from the Netherlands, Camille Cornelissen. By the way, didn't have the Netherlands up on our country-by-country breakdown. Want to say well done to Raymond Venus. He led the way. He's made it safely into day 2. He's looking pretty strong for the Netherlands World Magic Cup team. And then in terms of the most matches and the most wins, both of those are Shuhei Nakamura, a true road warrior, still goes to almost everything around the world. You see him in Europe, you see him in Asia, you see him in North America, and that is why his numbers are so vast. What's next? Okay, what do you see here, Zach?
All right, we're looking at who has won the most Grand Prix matches. I mean, you can't ignore Shuhei Nakamura with almost 1,000 Grand Prix match wins. Also kind of incredible. That's lifetime. Olivier Ruel, another player that's been around a very long time, traveled all around the world. Olivier at 695, Raphael Levy 664. Kind of a tight race there. Now, again, looking at this season, Shahar Shenhar, we now see why he's in the conversation for Player of the Year. With 153 GP wins, 4 top 8s this season. Shuhei not just resting on his laurels, 131 this very season. And of course, Josh Utter-Layton, one of the U.S. Pro Tour mainstays behind the resurgence of America in the late 2000s, with 108 GP match wins this season.
Yeah, which really makes you think, because Josh Utter-Layton, there's always someone more famous to tell the story about, but he's always the guy on the other side of the table, quietly winning and just being better than almost everyone else, almost all the time. Just a tremendous player. If he wasn't in Channel Fireball, if he was in a slightly different era of US Magic, he would be an absolute superstar.
Yeah.
But you play Magic when you play Magic, you play them with the people you're with, you're part of one of the great teams of all time. So, you know, you just quietly accumulate the wins. Let's move on. And this time we have the top pro player earnings, and you see the big 3. Well, of course, it's champions, because boy, we like to reward people who actually win the whole thing. Stanislav Sivka, Pro Tour champion, 52,500. Tom Martell, very similar point score, if you will, 53,000. And then Yuya Watanabe, streets clear of the rest, 78,800. Part of that, of course, he won the Players' Championship. It will be the 16-player World Championship when we return in Amsterdam. And then Lifetime, well, all 3 of them are back for day 2. Huge earnings. Look at that. I mean, between them, those 3 have earned over $1 million playing Magic the Gathering.
And I think those numbers might even be slightly low. I'm not sure, but I know our numbers sometimes didn't include Nationals wins.
That's right. There are some other things, because we don't have full records for every country's Nationals, and you know, it doesn't include travel expenses and those incidentals that you absolutely see reflected in your bank account that you didn't pay for a flight to Amsterdam or to halfway around the world to Brazil or wherever. So yes, those numbers are low, but that's purely just Pro Tour, Grand Prix, just straight up, here's a check, well done, you finished 64th, have $200. And they've added up, but they tend to win them in bigger than $200 chunks, those 3.
That's true.
All right, well, on we go. Lifetime block constructed wins. 3 Hall of Famers. You have Olivier Ruel up at the front, Shuhei Nakamura, and Frank Carsten. Now, I'm very sad not to see Frank Carsten here. I thought if anyone was going to be Maze's End, it would be him. The good news is we found plenty of people mad enough to try Maze's End, which was great. Did you, now come on, Zach, Maze's End, did you see that coming as a card for block constructed?
I mean, I've got to say that I did. I don't want to look like too much of a know-it-all, but I'm just going to point out it was an 11th Mythic. You know, you're not going to add a Mythic that's probably totally a blank. It's based off Thawing Glaciers, which is one of the best, it may have been the best constructed card in the formats in which it was legal. And Maze's End adds mana to your mana pool on top of everything else on top of Glaciers, which essentially makes it worth almost 1 more card than Thawing Glaciers, because Thawing Glaciers didn't actually do anything by itself. You had to use it for its ability. So I have to say, we played a lot of Maze's End in the FFL. I don't know that I expected 4 Maze's End using Maze's End as a win condition decks to be doing as well as they did in this Pro Tour, but it's definitely a card that we pegged to be pretty good.
All right, what's next? Let's see. Pro Tour players with 20+ constructed matches. Well, 20 isn't a lot, and that's why you get someone like Mike Krasnitsky, Ukraine, 16-2-2, from GP Verona, which he won, and the World Magic Cup. You end up with this gigantic win percentage of 88.9. Bear in mind, we say that 60% is a very good reflection of an excellent, excellent Tier 1 Pro, and if you get towards 66% in any format, that is real, genuine dominance, bearing in mind all the games you lose to the unwinnable matchups, the nut draw from your opponent, and the hideous land, flood, or screw to yourself. To win 2 out of 3 despite all those variables is a huge thing. So 88.9, very much the outlier, but nonetheless, congratulations to Mike Krasnitsky of Ukraine. Pro Tour and Grand Prix booster draft wins in 2012 and 13. 24, 27, and 30 for Stark, Adler, Nakamura, all very much alive. And then lifetime, you see what a giant of the Grand Prix circuit Martin User is. He cranks those up, 146, Shuhei in the middle at 180, and the man who has just played more Magic than anyone ever, Rafael Levy, 191. Let's move on. Are we nearly done? Grand Prix and Pro Tour booster drafts played. You see there Atsushi Nakamura at 10-1, and Frank Scarron with 20+ booster drafts. Only 40 people have done that. And Frank Scarron is at 81%. He was the winner of Grand Prix Charlotte 2013. Any more for any more? We finish on the two sides of Premier Play. Your Grand Prix Hall of Famer, it's Olivier Rouel. 27 Grand Prix top 8s, 5 wins, nearly 1,200 matches. And on the Pro Tour side, it's our Platinum Hall of Famer, John Finkel. 14 top 8s, 3 first places, over 800 Pro Tour matches. Just crazy. All right. Thanks very much to Gathering Magic. Thanks very much to that guy, James. Zach, we just got a couple of minutes. The pairings are going up. We can talk about a few of the pods that are going to be here, because remember, you're locked into your group of 8 players. You can't play other people on the same record. It's just within your table. So we know who the big beasts are at each table. We talked about tables 1 and 2, that's our master scoreboard for the morning. But Zach, who do you take in pod 3? Who have we got? We've got Dennis Rashid, Darwin Castle, Chris Fennell, Bram Snetvangers, Christian Fair, Nathan Holiday, Andre Prost, and Nicholas Cuenca. Who do you like?
Well, so first of all, that's a pretty loaded pot. A lot of big names there. I'm actually going to go with a bit of an underdog and choose Chris Fennell. He's been around for a long time. He's a bit of a limited specialist. I've seen him play. I have a lot of respect for his ability to figure out new, very complex draft formats. I think he was probably the best cold snap drafter on earth when that was a format.
Wow.
And Dragon Maze can go a lot of directions. I think that really lends itself to Chris's skill set. I would not be surprised if he took down this draft pod.
Okay, I'm very interested in seeing what Dennis Rashid does. He's on Maze's End, remember, down the back end, and he was 3-0 in draft yesterday. We did the draft viewer with him. You'll see another draft viewer later this morning. But Rashid needs probably another 3-0 because he was only 3-2 in block constructed, and will need all the help he can get to sustain his Maze's End deck through the back rounds. What about pod 4? We've got Portugal's Rodrigo Borba, Tomoharu Saito of Japan, Reed Duke, Andreas Pranito of Indonesia, well done to him at 6-2, Dave Schaffman, Stephen Mann of the United States, coming off his last Pro Tour top 8, Hiroki Tsuchiya of Japan, and Thomas Westling of Sweden. Zach, who do you like there?
I'm actually going to go with Reed Duke. He's on an extremely good team, arguably the best team at the tournament, Team Star City. He's got a lot of Magic Online experience. We know Magic Online is very positively correlated with doing well in Limited, and he's just a great player. So I'm going to have to pick Reed to win that pot.
Okay, I'm going to look at Tomoharu Saito. He's just one of the best players I've ever seen. Of course, he's been out of the game for a while because of misdemeanors, but he's back. He came to the Legacy Grand Prix in Europe. Why? Because I love Legacy, so that was pretty straightforward. He is a tremendous player. He kind of put a bit of a spanner in the works at the last Pro Tour in that he was posting all these tremendous constructed decks on Twitter in the week before the Pro Tour. And basically people were kind of sitting there going, it's another 2 hours, I'll hit refresh and see whether we've got a new Saito deck for the green-red aggro that he was building. So he's nicely positioned at 6-2. He is a little rusty, but he has a chance at 6-2 to make a big run and get what would be yet another top 8 for a former player of the year. So let's take a look at pod number 5. You've got Shuhei Nakamura in there, Eric Klump, Martin Jensen of Germany, Josh Utter-Layton, Gerald Sixkiller from the United States, Brad Nelson, Chi Hoi Yim, again all of the US, and Jonas Kussler of Germany. Zach, your choice there?
As much as I want to pick my good friend Brad Nelson, I think I'm going to have to go with Josh Utter-Layton. Like we talked about, I mean, always, you know, just sort of always seeming to play second fiddle to someone else who's a little bit more higher profile. But Josh, one of the best players in the United States since he really became active, looking for, you know, leading the standings anyway, looking for a really high profile Pro Tour finish today. Never really seen him make a misplay in my life. I'm sure he has, but never when I'm around. I'm going to go ahead and pick Josh to win this pot.
I'm going to go straightforwardly for Shuhei Nakamura. He is 14 points adrift of Yuya Watanabe. If he can 3-0 this pod, he is in tremendous state. Those are the first half dozen pods. I can tell you, feature matches for round 9 are upon us. We have Rob Castellan, the leader, against Mark Eilers in second place. We have Andres Monsalve of Argentina against Jelger Wiegersma of the Netherlands. We have Yuya Watanabe at 6-2 against Eric Froelich. And we begin with Bob Maher. You've seen him draft. Now let's see where all those gates get put to good use, up against Kerry Edwards, sitting there on 6-2. Big match coming up for Edwards. Enjoy round 9, and we'll see you as Pro Tour Dragon's Maze gets underway here on day 2.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the booth. Marshall Sutcliffe with Brian, Dave, and Marshall. Now, we just had a chance to look at the concoction that Bob Maher built. What did you think about it?
I liked it. I mean, I think it played out pretty much the way we expected.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where he, there was some question about whether or not he would go Azorius splashing a little red, splashing a little black, or go Bant splashing a little red, splashing a little black.
Yes.
And it looks like he went that Bant double splash.
Double
option.
splash. You know,
so it is the 5-color, the proverbial 5-color deck we were talking about.
But it's a safe one. It's the one that you mentioned, BDM, about, you know, where like he's splashing a card here and a card here just for as an easy splash, right? Like he's not like firmly in 5 different colors. He's got like a little dip here and a little dip there, and he's mainly white and blue, and then chunk of green, and then a little bit of red and a little bit of black. So yeah, it seems. His mana didn't look that bad for a 5-color deck.
When you present it like that, what could go wrong?
Yeah. Well, we were wondering that to Bob. He said, "Oh, you know," he said, "I think it's pretty solid. It could be better." He didn't seem super sad about it though.
No. He felt like it was a 2-1 deck that in a bad situation could go 1-2, but could very well go 3-0.
Yeah, and I think he said he would be really surprised if he ended up going 0-3 with it, which, I mean, he's also Bob Maher, so going 0-3 probably doesn't happen to him that often. We do have this list here, so we're going to be able to reference that as we go. It looks like players are just getting ready to play, so we'll be down in the feature match area momentarily here. I'm curious to see where this goes. There's one card that caught my eye. I think you like it. I can't remember if you like Hold the Gates. Is that a BDM card?
I do love Hold the Gates. We in the office back in New York, we went on a Hold the Gates rampage for.
How do you go on a Hold the Gates ramp? It
just like constantly
toughness.
Firing up an 8-4, drafting a Hold the Gates deck, losing, and then firing up
like,
another
no,
one.
This is what we need to do.
We need a Hold the Gates deck.
Yeah, it looks like Bob's taking a mulligan to 6, so we'll see. But he is running it in the main.
Yeah, he was super pleased that it came back. Bob definitely has some different ideas about some of the cards.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Hold the Gates is a card that's gotten a lot better.
Sure.
Because you can have this critical mass of gates.
He's got
By the time you see the card, even. Crackling Perimeter is a card also that suddenly I've seen more people playing.
Yeah, that's one that definitely I have my eyeball on. You know, but I agree. I think he's got some different ideas. I saw that, you know, he had a Rune Wing in his pile, a perfectly serviceable 4-drop. He didn't run it.
But he has a lot of 4-drops.
Yeah.
The other thing that was interesting is a card that he loves Aetherize. You know, which is a card I know you kind of can't stand.
I'm kind of mediocre on it. Yeah, I mean, I can find a few spots for it, but I'm not excited by it. All right, looks like the players are ready to go, so we're going to send it down to the feature match area right now for a little bit more action. See you in a minute.